Hey, it's Sydney Brown
and Lakeena McGee
from Second City Sports. Be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Roku, we are at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Chi. Be sure to download our mobile app as well as you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live in living color, baby. Along with Mr. Kim McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and Lakeena McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, too, you can catch up on our other live shows that we have airing throughout the week. So if you happen to miss them, you can go back and watch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, please follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. And speaking of our podcast, Second City Sports, you can subscribe to it by going to War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And speaking of War Media, please go ahead and give them a follow at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, that's at War Media, WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call it a Sports Talk Radio Show. You can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and don't do something stupid, I've given Lakeena full power to give you folks the hometown Samantha Rivera forearm boot.
Bye-bye.
We'll get into that later.
I used the wrong hand. She used her left hand. She used her right hand.
Whichever hand you use, Lakeena, they'll get the message. But before we begin, we must remind you that Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just download that Sports Zone Chicago app by tapping on that sports folder. That's right. Liam Hendricks says you better do it. You must do it. If you have a Roku television, like I said, just tap on the sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku TV, that's okay. You have a bunch of handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your personal PC like Lakeena's using right now, or your Chromebook like I'm using right now. Just go to the Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV.
Anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere you want.
And you know we will provide.
I love it. All right. So we got a busy show ahead. I hope you guys like our cool new background. Of course, we got some new backgrounds going to be playing around with. So, bear with us if you're watching us on the Facebook and YouTube page on Sports Zone Chicago. We got our girl Christine Manika from KXRB joining us to talk. Basically, a lot of stuff that happening, sports media news, and of course, all NFL, all the other stuff that's going on right now. So make sure guys stick around for that at a little after 1. But first, we're going to talk about some White Sox and Cubs. Of course, we're going to start locally with the baseball. Well, White Sox, okay, you got a nice show for the White Sox. I guess the Yankees, they won 2 out of 3. Kind of a weird week for them, of course, with the wildfires going up in Canada, the air quality in New York and Philadelphia and DC and some other spots, even here in Chicago is affecting us here. The air quality hasn't been very good. So a lot of the sports scheduling has been kind of, all over the place. So the Sox had to play a doubleheader. yesterday. They did take one, they did split the doubleheader with the Yankees, win the first one, and it looks. I know they've won like about 5 of their last 6. I get it, but you got. I mean, they did win without Aaron Judge, and they had to face Aaron Judge, this time. So it's hard to kind of say whether or not, is this really like are the Sox really back? I know they're 3.5 back. I get. I know Minnesota. We'll get to them after the break, but. I think for me, it's hard to kind of get into it. I mean, the bullpens are very solid. Liam Hendricks, has given up any runs since, in the last couple of days since he's been back after that first start. Yes, the hitting has been solid. Jake Burger, of course, you got to make a case for him, going to the All-Star break. I'm sure getting him a berth there, but it's hard for me to get into like this side of the White Sox, bandwagon. I mean, if you want to get on the bandwagon, I'm sure Sid is. But if you all you White Sox fans that want to be on the bandwagon, fine. But I'm not on it yet. And Eloy got hurt again, so
I know you were happy, quote unquote.
Like clockwork. So he got in that second game, that doubleheader. But so what do you think about the White Sox this week?
Like I said for the last couple of weeks, Lakeena, I get your pessimism, and I get it. You can't really judge this team until you get to 500. We get it. But as I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, you got to start somewhere. Yes, they took 2 out of 3 in New York against the Yankees. Yes, they were without Aaron Judge and John Carlos saying he was in the lineup, but he really didn't do any damage against your pitching staff. Props to Lucas Giolito. He pitched a stellar performance, 6 innings of no-hit ball on Tuesday. Liam Hendricks got his first save of the season on Tuesday. And, of course, as you mentioned yesterday, they split the day-night doubleheader. Lance Lynn is still a thorn up some people's spine. The White Sox offense did bail him out yesterday. Too bad they couldn't do that in the second game with Mike Clevenger on the mound. He pitched his heart out for the Sox, but they came away on the short end of the stick. But I was really impressed by the Sox in New York City. I told you they were not get swept. They were going to take 1 game. Well, they took 2, so you have to be happy with that. They're 5-1, like you said, in their last 6 games. They are 5-1 for the month of June. The month is still early, but this team can build some momentum. You take on the Miami Marlins starting tonight on the South Side, and no, you cannot overlook this Marlins team because they're a little bit better than what people expect. But I expect them to take care of business there. But you mentioned the offense. Eloy Jimenez, before he got hurt yesterday, he's been swinging a hot stick. Luis Robert, a.k.a. La Pantera, he's been coming on straight. And Jake Burger, go to MLB.com to vote him for the All-Star game. He deserves it right now. And Lakeena, speaking of Jake Burger, I don't care where you put him, except for shortstop and catcher, of course. I don't care where you put him on the field. You decide to put him on the field for that particular day. He needs to be in the lineup every day because he's been providing the spark for the White Sox offense for the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, I said the Bird deserves a spot in the All-Star reserve. Not maybe not a star, but probably definitely on the reserve side. And look, like I said, I mean, okay, yeah, the White Sox. Look, this is the ebbs and flows of the season. I know, yeah, they have the best record in the AL Central, since April 30th, but I can't, look past the fact that this team lost 10 in a row to start off the season. Yeah, you can say, because of injuries and whatnot, but a lot of other teams are dealing with injuries too, and some are doing it right now as we speak. So. Yeah, yes, I am pessimistic, but you know what? I know the reality of this team. I'm going by what I've been seeing the last couple of years. You thought that maybe the Sox would be getting going. They lose about 5 or 6 in a row. They win about maybe 4 or 5 in a row. Then they lose about 5 or then they lose like 9 in a row or something. So yeah, I am pessimistic. Yes, I'm not. Yes, I'm not. But I know the reality of how this team is. And yeah, the AL Central. Yeah, they're back in at 3.5, but it just shows that the AL Central is pure comical. It's comedy. Like the fact that you lose 10 in a row, you're the first, and then you're 3.5. That just shows you how bad the division is. So, look, I mean, yeah, the Sox, they got a tough one against the Marlins. I don't know if they. Let me see. I gotta see if they're going to be facing Alcantara this.
He's going against Michael Kopech tomorrow. I'll be there, by the way. So.
Okay, yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. But yeah, so look, you win the series against the Marlins, and look. Okay, look, I mean, I know Sox fans want to get back in the bandwagon. I get it, but you face you got a tough schedule. You got to go at the Dodgers after the series against Miami, and you go at Seattle. Then you got to face Texas. I know we're talking about they got a big injury. We'll take that after the break, but. And they play Boston. They got to go back on the road out west. Then you got the Angels for 4, and then you got the A's, I don't want to say the A's, but that's been the house of horrors with the White Sox the last 2 years. How bad the A's have been, but they've got a tough schedule coming up. So I'm not there yet. Yes, they had a nice start to this month, but I need to see more. I'm sorry.
And like I said, I get your point. The offense looks like they're starting to come around. Hopefully, it continues this weekend as they go back home to face the Marlins. But they're starting pitching. Needs to keep it up. Dylan Cease is on a bump tonight for the White Sox. Hopefully, he's been improving a little bit. Hopefully, he can stay in the game past the 5th and 6th inning, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, he can do that. And like I said, Michael Kopech, I was at the game last Sunday afternoon against the Tigers. He, except for that one mistake against Spencer Torkelson, he pitched his butt off. Hopefully, he can do the same thing tomorrow. And then, of course, if that game gets played on Sunday because of rain, Lucas Giolito will go on the bump. So the Sox, at least pitching-wise, has the matchup in their favor. Just hopefully the offense can continue and let Jake Burger stay in the lineup every day, please.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. Now let's go to the north side for a second. Unfortunately, it hasn't been good. They got swept by the Angels 3-1 on the capper of that series. They faced the Giants starting tonight. Just the inconsistency of the offense. I mean, some bad decisions by David Ross and some of the other things that have been going on. Sox, Cubs fans are starting to freak out a little bit. And I've seen some of some of our friends who are Cubs fans are starting to kind of freak out a bit. I mean, look, I just think, this is the kind of the ebbs and flows of the season. I know Bellinger's still out, so I think he's the one that kind of gets the offense going. He hasn't been out there. I know he has a session, I think like over the weekend, so we'll see if he might be back by next week. I know Justin Steele had a touch and feel session that that's not what you think, folks, but it went okay. So hopefully maybe he can get back and maybe the next week or two. So they need a lot of help, and look, a lot of guys have not been very good. Nico Horner hasn't really been very good. You got to think, Chris Romero's starting to kind of been on a standstill a little bit. I know people think Murray should be sent back down, but I think, look, you got to get a little bit better, and all that. Happ, Ian Happ, and some of these other guys have not been stepping up for the Cubs on the hitting side. The pitch has not really been the issue; it's just been the offense. I mean, unfortunately, now we're into the part where the offense just hasn't been been able to step it up.
You just took the words right out of my mouth, Lakeena. The starting pitching against the Angels in the series, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible either. It's just that everybody at once has decided to take a train to Stinky Town if you're the Cubs offense. Seiya Suzuki looked like he was the only one that tried to hit with some consistency in that series, but Mike Trout hit a home run during, I believe it was Wednesday's game. I know Shohei Ohtani hit one for the Angels during the series opener on Tuesday, and so those two didn't do as much damage as you thought they would do. But at the same time, that offense, like you said, just as a group, has just taken a big nosedive. Drew Smiley didn't pitch that badly last night. No. It's just that the offense just didn't bail him out. We said it before, Lakeena. We'll keep saying it to the end of the season. If the Cubs just average between 4 and 6 runs a game, their starting pitching will be there. And we talk about Marcus Stroman too. I know the Angels didn't see him in this series. Marcus Stroman will pitch in this weekend series tonight against San Francisco. But he's the lone Cubs All-Star representative, and he's been the most consistent starting pitcher since the beginning of the season. So hopefully he can keep it up. Kyle Hendricks, and we need to see more from him as he's trying to get his feet back. And James Wisniewski, and I didn't think he pitched that badly. The Cubs game before nothing leading that series opener on Tuesday. They just couldn't hold it.
Couldn't hold it. Yeah, the bullpen, definitely killed that momentum. So I think, unfortunately, I know some people say maybe David Ross, should be fired, but who are you going to bring? Okay, you got to promote someone from within. Okay, and then let's say that the Cubs missed the playoffs, and after the season, what do you do? I know Joe Girardi, some people said that, but he might be pitching in college. I think I saw maybe South Florida or Central Florida. He's been offered that job, and with their baseball team. And I just think that, look, you need kind of like a kind of a young guy to kind of who knows, who's been around, who knows kind of what it takes to win. So, and you have to think that maybe you bring Joe Madden back. Maybe I don't know, but I love Rossi, but I don't think he's a guy for the job. I mean, hopefully they can figure things out, but it just isn't there at this point.
I know it was a short year a couple of years ago, but David Ross did get this team to the playoffs. So people do forget that, even though you were in transition from the old regime with Rizzo, Baez, and Bryant until this group formed now. But like you said, unless somebody out there better than him right now, you're not going to fire David Ross. He deserves the opportunity to manage this team. And let's be honest, Lakeena, we said this before the start of the season. Which you think that the core that is on the field right now, you think it's going to be the finishing core in about a couple of years if Clutch Management does this thing right? No. So Dave Ross deserves the opportunity to have a full roster of his guys on his roster. It looks like he's starting to get that now. You mentioned Christopher Morel. He's starting to cool off a little bit, but he's made an impact since he's come up. So David Ross needs to have a full starting roster, full of his guys to see if they can be competitive in the NL Central, because we talk about the other teams in the NL Central. We'll get to them after the break, but Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, who struggled this week. So the Cubs do have a chance to get back in this thing, but they need to turn it around offensively. They started pitching this there, and let's not forget about their bullpen, even though they haven't been doing that terribly this week, but their bullpen still needs a lot of work. And we'll see what GM Carter Hawkins does, along with Jed Hoyer, the president of baseball operations. We'll see what they can do between now and the All-Star break. But the Cubs got to get it going and get it going now.
Look, I was saying something nice, and then I froze, but
and it's not my fault.
Yeah, well, no, well, yeah. Look, I'll just finish this out, and then we can go to break. But look, I think, but let's let Rossi finish up the season, and then if the Cubs somehow just miss the playoffs, okay, he deserves another year. But if they continue to not win like 80 games, not get at 500, then we can kind of figure out, okay, let's see what else is out there. But look, we'll see what Jed Hoyer and Connor Hawkins do, because I think that this is definitely going to be, these next year, this next sort of like this next year is probably going to be interesting to see where the Cubs will be at this point. All right, so let's take a really quick break. I know we're way past the break, but we're going to talk about some of the stuff going on the rest of baseball. Interesting things happening in the world of baseball, I guess. A lot of interesting streaks going on, and some very interesting things happening in some of these big series that are going on right now. We'll talk the rest of MLB coming up next. Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Chicago. MLB Talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things, none of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Studio. Oh, sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports on this Fun Friday Fun edition. Real live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Bikini Green, which is she. I am Sydney Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
I like to talk to Sir Phil Collins to say he has nothing to worry about. You follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Killsbury on the IG.
We have less than 80 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, let's talk about the rest of this week in baseball. What caught your eye this week?
A couple of things from this series. We'll start out with the New York Mets and the Atlanta Braves. The Braves took 2 out of 3 from the New York Mets. Of course, my guy Ozzie Oblies with a great walk-off home run, the 3-1 shot last night to seal the series win in the game for the Atlanta Braves. As the Braves come from behind in that high-scoring affair to beat the New York Mets 13-10. On the field, Lakeena, the Braves offense is starting to shine through. On the flip side for the Mets, their starting pitching has been stinky. Justin Verlander looks like his fool's gold in terms of the contract the Mets signed him to this past off season. I know he's been injured for the most part for this year, but he hasn't looked good since his return from the IL. And number 2, the world-famous midday host on WFAN, the one who said that he was going to fire Buck Showalter if he didn't turn this thing around within 30 days and a couple of weeks ago. That guy is starting to change his tune now. He wanted to call the sports radio police to say he wants to, not saying change his mind, because he said, and I quote, that he cracked the code from one of Buck Showalter's post-game pressers the other day. I think it was after the first loss of the series to the Atlanta Braves at the Tuesday night's game. I don't make out the lineup card referring to Buck Showalter. If that's the case, Lakeena, this ain't anything new as far as certain hosts changing their tune. I don't care if it's this town or wherever sports radio shows or podcasts you listen to across the country and across the world. But what is it? Do you want Buck Showalter fired or not? We talked about David Ross in our last segment. Okay, let's just say the Mets really go down the tunnel and take a real nosedive, which I still don't see happening. But let's just say they did and they fired Showalter. Who's going to replace him? Who wants that job right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's injuries and consistency in the pitching. After that Verlander was probably one of the worst of his career. He's had some bad starts, so that was just not good on his part. And also, too, the Mets are the first time that in the history of the franchise that they lost 3 straight games, and they led by at least 3 runs in all 3 of them. They were up by like 6, yesterday. So, like, what the heck is going on? What the heck is going on here? So, like, I don't know what's going on with the Mets. Is it, injuries and such? It's just like, it's just been brutal. So on the flip side, though, going to the AL, the Rays are kind of cementing themselves as the best team in not just in the AL, but in the league. They're 46-19. They've won 6 in a row. And you thought that maybe with a little bit, they with the White Sox, you thought that, that would have been it for them. But look, they won 3 straight against the Twins. I know that made White Sox fans happy.
Yay!
And they, of course, they won 3 out of 4 against the Red Sox. But yeah, I mean, their pitch has been very solid. The hitting has been very good. I mean, Harold Ramirez, lasered a 2-run home run to complete that sweep against the Twins. So it's been kind of an interesting sort of thing. You got guys that are not, these guys are not like household names. Let's talk about the Rays, but they actually have, a lot of these guys are farm system guys. So they're actually paying some dividends. And look, at least for right now, they're showing you why they're the best team in baseball.
Yes, as we said for many years, Lakeena, this franchise stresses on fundamentals, playing the game right, running the bases, catching the ball, pitching the ball, and hitting in key situations. They're not their lineup is not filled with power guys that hit 40, 50 home runs a year. They don't have those guys. They have guys that fundamentally sound, play the game right. And that's what you would respect out of the Tampa Bay Rays, led by their field manager, Kevin Cash. I'm sure he's up there for manager of the year as well as he should, because no one expected him to get off to this great of a start. On the flip side for the Minnesota Twins, Carlos Correa, who pimped the Minnesota Twins out of $300 million. I know he's been injured off and on this year, but he just hasn't had the year that most people expected him to have. I know Byron Buxton has been up and down with the injuries. They traded away Luis Ariz to the Miami Marlins. We'll get to him in a second, but they could use him right now. But they're pitching. I know Sonny Gray is having another good year, but no one's afraid of him. And outside of Johan Duran coming out of their bullpen, looks like he's having a little bit of a better year than last year. But are you really afraid of the Minnesota Twins? Right now, I'm not. And the offense really doesn't scare you unless Bucks is in the lineup healthy for the majority of the season.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be interesting in the Twins. This is really, again, the ebbs and flows of the season. I think, injuries and all that. So we'll see what happens there. But, it looks like Toronto, the Blue Jays are starting to, get it going here finally. Yay. Because we had them as one of the more disappointing teams so far this year. Now they have, they did sweep Houston. They went 3 out of 4, I should say, against Houston, which is not an easy thing. So it's been, those were kind of like gritty, grinding out of games. I think the last two were they're both 3-2 games, and Toronto was able to pull it off at home. They did, DFA Anthony Bass. Well, we won't get into some of the stuff that he's, some of the off the field shenanigans that he's been making headlines for, but we won't get into all that. But look, they're starting to kind of get going a little bit. I'm talking about the Blue Jays. And it looks like maybe their pitching has been very solid, and some of the, the hitting, of course, Vladdy Jr. and Biggio and those guys. So yeah, I think it's been very solid. Now, can they kind of turn it around? We'll see. I mean, look, they won 2 out of 3 against the Brewers. They swept the Mets. They won 3 out of 4, like I said, this week against the Astros. Starting to kind of get it going here. They've won, I think like 8 of their last 10. So they've actually been pretty solid. So we'll see if they can keep it up.
Yeah, the only bad loss that Toronto had in that series, of course, was the series opener on Monday. Alex Manoah gave up 6 runs. I actually saw some of this game. Of course, he's been struggling, talking about Manoah all year, and it's so bad they sent him down to Florida in rookie ball. So we'll see if he gets himself together in time to rejoin the Blue Jays in time for the stretch one. We'll see what happens with that. But you mentioned that offense has come through. I saw some of the game last night on MLB Network. Great job by Sierra Santos.
Yes.
Chris Young. And they had Jose Bautista part of the broadcast when the Blue Jays started coming back. Of course, the former Blue Jay who had that big home run against Texas in that division series back in 2015. It was the MLB's Clubhouse edition. They did a great job on the broadcast last night. But Toronto is starting to piece it together, like you said, Vlad Jr., Bo Bichette, Cavan Biggio, and some of those other guys. And as we said, this AL East is going to be a tough division race, and Toronto needs to keep up.
Keep pace. Absolutely looks like they've been doing so that so far. Let's hope that they can keep it up there. Now, the Guardians, or Jose Ramirez, he had a solid showing yesterday, and of course, capping off that winning 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox. He hit 3 home runs in one game, which is the first time in his his career. He actually had 6, at least 4 RBIs. Third time in his career that he's had the 3rd RBI of the day, which is his 700th career RBI. Also to his 200 home run. So Ramirez put together a nice little sort of making a case for all-star position himself, and it looks like the Guardians are right there. They're only 1.5 back from the Twins, so. Gotta give him his props.
Yeah, Guardians, just like you said, everybody else who has injuries, they're going through it right now. Of course, remember Cleveland's without Tristan McKissick and their other starting pitcher, Aaron Savali. So, and they're trying to piece it together. Of course, Shane Bieber's still there, but he's starting to get touched up a little bit. So Cleveland's keeping it together. I know they were predicted by many to repeat as AL Central Division champions. I know they haven't looked. Remember, they struggled last year as well until they got together after the All-Star break, but they're trying to piece it together. I know they picked up Josh Bell from San Diego in the all-season. He's splitting time at first base with Josh Naylor, who really had a breakout year last year. Thank you, White Sox, on May 9th of last year. But they're trying to piece it together. I don't think they're going to go away quietly either, because this AL Central Division is terrible. But I wouldn't count the Guardians out. I wouldn't.
Oh no, I wouldn't. You'd be crazy if you did count out the Guardians here because they've got the pitching and the hitting. It's just like the White Sox, it's the consistency that's been the problem, and getting staying healthy too. That's another thing.
Yeah, I got more faith. Just like last year, I got more faith in them than the Twins.
Right. Eli De La Cruz, who's the Cuban the Cuban player who the Reds picked up. He actually had his first career home run against the Dodgers. The Reds win 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. He hit 2 home runs, I should say, in that series, including one that kept off a comeback there. But well, look, I don't know. Look, I don't know if we should take the Reds seriously because I kind of feel like this is sort of another thing where the ebbs and flows and whatnot. Yeah, he hit De La Cruz hit that monster like 58 feet home run in that second game. But I think look, you kind of caught the Dodgers in a rough spot. I mean, guys have been kind of in and out of the lineup for various reasons. They the Dodgers did win to keep themselves from getting swept, but. Yeah, the Reds, okay, yeah, you could probably say like, okay, yeah, you beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3 at home, so you can kind of take that.
Yeah, Ellie De La Cruz becomes the first player. I saw the stat the other day. He becomes the first player since 1953 to have a single, double, triple, and a home run in his first 2 games, and that's amazing. But we not to throw dirt on Cincinnati, but we've seen this before with all young players looking that come up through the system, and the ones that are high prospects that are highly talented to make an impact. They bust down the scene right away. Pitchers and veterans started to figure it out. The big adjustment is, can you adjust to what how they get you out? So
right,
we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, Cincinnati is not expected to do anything this year, but just like we saw with the Cubs with that group last year, they're not expected to do anything. So the pressure's off of them to go out and do their best and perfect their craft. So, and also too, don't forget about starting pitcher Hunter Green. He's starting to come on too. So is Cincinnati a playoff team? No, but I would not take them lightly either.
Right, yeah, I don't think they're going to be a tough thing. So I don't expect them to compete for a wild card spot, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. Now the Phillies have been hot lately. They've won 6 straight, including winning 3 out of sweeping the Tigers. Zach Wheeler, he took a no hitter into the 8th inning. Cody Clemens had the game. A game-ending, the game-winning single that helps. So the Phillies, they're starting to get together. They're starting to kind of figure things out. Talk about the Phillies. They got the power. They had the power blue uniforms. I love those uniforms from the '80s. Those are sort of
I hate to say I kind of like those too.
Yeah, I've always loved those. I was surprised I kind of got rid of those, but I'm glad they do. Bring it up from time to time. But yeah, I think they're starting to make a decision in NL East. I mean, Atlanta, they had an up and down week this week. We saw the slide the Mets have been going through. So could we start to see the team that we saw that made it to the World Series last year? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, they're looking pretty good the last couple weeks.
Yeah, Zach Wheeler would have looked good in the White Sox uniform.
I know. You're still miffed about that.
He's better than Lance Lynn, but I'll leave that alone. But their starting pitching is led by Zach Wheeler and Tajon Walker, who they got from the Mets after last season. So those two had the anchor of their starting rotation. But their bullpen is starting to come through as well. And let's not forget about the offensive starts they have. I know Bryce Harper is still in and out right now, but you still have Kyle Schwarber, who brings the thunder with his bat. Also to Trey Turner, I know he hasn't had the best start this year, but you still had to consider him a threat in that lineup as well. So Philadelphia, they still have the bats, and as long as their top starters in the front end of the rotation still continue to roll, Philadelphia will be back at 500.
Yeah, I think they will be too. I think they'll definitely right there competing for, if not the East, because I know Atlanta, I know they've won 5 in a row too. We'll see if Atlanta can keep that unlocked, but they can definitely compete for one of the wild card spots. Because I think it really is that big of a log jam in that wild card spot in the NL. So we'll see what happens there. Let's see. Anything else before we move on?
Oh, anything else? Oh, yes. Sorry, I was doing something else for the moment. The Milwaukee Brewers, they take 2 out of 3 from the Baltimore Orioles in Milwaukee. as we said before, Milwaukee, they have a nice team, but they're not going to run away with the NL Central. I just don't see it. Baltimore's going through a little rust stretch right now. I know they took the series finale yesterday, but I still think they'll be okay. You mentioned the Guardians taking 2 out of 3 against the Bull Sox. Nice accent, Boston accent, by the way. I had to give you your props on that. The Diamondbacks and Nationals, they split their 2-game series because the third game was canceled yesterday.
Yeah,
it was postponed, I should say, yesterday due to the Canadian wildfire, the poor air quality. And so hopefully those folks on the East Coast will get better soon with that, because it's a terrible thing weather-wise that's going on right now. Yeah. Also, too, the Giants, they take care of the Rockies this week, winning that series, including the series finale yesterday. As you mentioned, they host the Cubs starting tonight from the Bay Area. Do you believe in the San Francisco Giants? Just like 2 years ago, I know they shocked everybody by winning over 100 games. Even though they got bounced down in the divisional series against the Dodgers, they still have just about the same characters from 2 years ago. I'm not saying they're going to win 100 games. I don't see that happening. But do you see the Giants becoming a threat in the NL West? We talk about the Diamondbacks. They may be hanging around for a while, but do we start to take the San Francisco Giants seriously, or are you still in wait-and-see mode?
I'm kind of waiting to see him over the Giants. I mean, you thought last year they were kind of like right there too, in that division. But they started nosediving. And of course, the Dodgers got back up. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. Gabe Kapler's done a great job, with that team. Kind of building it up with those young guys and whatnot. I mean, Brandon Crawford is still there. He's kind of like the elder, even though he's not even 30 yet. He's still like the elder guy. He's over 30, but he's kind of the elder guy, kind of the leader in that team. So he's still there. Won a couple World Series there. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if we kind of keep it up. I mean, they swept the Rockies. I mean, it's not really, the Rockies aren't very good. So it's kind of hard to kind of make a synopsis of the team with that because of that. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, I'll wait. Of course, they play the Cubs. This week. They got a even tougher schedule after that series. So next week. So we'll see. I'm kind of like waiting to see more with them.
Couple of the notes from this week in baseball. Your Seattle Mariners take 2 or 3 from the struggling San Diego Padres. If you're a Padres fan, you should be worried about that by now.
Yes.
The Oakland A's, they take 2 out of 3 in Pittsburgh. And the Miami Marlins, who will come to Chicago to face the White Sox this weekend on the South Side, they did what they were supposed to do. They swept Kansas City at home in 3 straight.
Yeah, so we just see what some of these series are going to be. Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, look, we're still in early June, so we won't know how these teams are going to be. It's like maybe after, by the end of the month. So I say wait me when we'll see what happens with some of this stuff. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where these teams are going to be. After all this, especially since I can see sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown with you. Now let's go into the schedule mode for this weekend. Some pretty solid series coming up this weekend. You got Arizona and Detroit. We'll see. Detroit's been a little bit of a skid, so we'll see if they can break that against the Diamondbacks.
I told you they were a bunch of frauds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, we'll see. We can say the same about. We'll be saying the same thing about Arizona in about a month. But again, we'll see. Texas and Tampa Bay. That should be a good series. Unfortunately, Jacob deGrom is out for the year with Tommy John, so that's a tough break for him. They've been sort of saying the football. We'll see what Texas is. We'll at the end of the month. Of course, Boston and the Yankees again. Yay, 6:05.
Oh, you don't have a 6-hour 9-inning game.
I know, right? The first game of the Apple TV Plus. This is actually really is a doubleheader tonight, folks. There will be no cross-sectional, but Kansas City and Baltimore, pretty interesting. We'll see if Baltimore. I'm sure they're going to want to get that bad taste out of their mouth this week after what happened earlier this week. We'll see. For those of you in Kansas City and Baltimore, you got to check out Apple TV Plus. MLBTV.com. You'll be able to check that out. So for the rest of you guys, the Dodgers and the Phillies, that should be interesting. Mets and Pittsburgh. The Mets have been in a free fall. We'll see what happens with that. Minnesota and Toronto. We'll see if Toronto can keep up their winning ways.
Let's go Blue Jays.
A lot of Sox fans are going to be cheering for the Blue Jays this year. We'll see if the Twins can get out of their skid. And Houston's facing the Guardians.
I'll leave that alone. Wrapping up our weekend series schedule, we will have Washington and Atlanta as the Nationals take on the Braves. We'll have Oakland and Milwaukee from American Family Field. Ooh,
Nice,
boy.
nice Milwaukee accent there.
Yeah. Also, we'll have Cincinnati and St. Louis this weekend. St. Louis, they're still struggling, even though they're trying to climb out of their early season struggles. We'll have San Diego, Colorado. Hopefully, San Diego can get their act together. Seattle, Lakeena, Seattle Mariners at the Anaheim Angels. That's the second game of that Apple TV Plus doubleheader tonight. That's at 8:38. And of course, we have the Cubs in the San Francisco Giants. Hey, Lakeena, give us the national TV schedule for Saturday.
Absolutely. KC of Baltimore, 3:05 tomorrow, Saturday. ESPN Plus and the Fox regional coverage for tomorrow night, Saturday at 6:35. Boston and the Yankees, most of the people in the nation will be getting that. Of course, those of us here in Chicago and San Francisco will get the Cubs and the Giants also on Fox at 6:35, the regional coverage there. And the Sunday morning Peacock game of the week. You remember this game's always streaming on Peacock. The Diamondbacks of Detroit, finishing up that series. And of course, Sunday Night Baseball, no surprise, you got the Red Sox and the Yankees, the capper of that series, 6:00 on ESPN, 6:00 Chicago time on ESPN on Sunday.
Watch Shell game will end in 3.5 hours.
Yeah, over under, I guess.
Yes. All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 is straight ahead as you listen to Second City Sports on the Fun Friday Fun edition. I'm Sid, that's Lakeena. We'll preview tonight's game number 4 of the NBA Finals between the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. We'll review Wednesday's Game 3 win with the Denver Nuggets. Of course, we have a couple of sports media news nuggets to pass along. TV Network is behaving badly and looks like it's going to get worse for this group. We'll discuss that. And Live Golf and PGA Tour have married each other at the altar, perhaps for life. We'll get into that and a whole lot more. And we'll have our homegirl, Christine, the Queen Manika from KXRB, to join us also next hour. So stay right there. You're listening to Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I'm scared. You're
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all.
Are you not paying attention? Are you texting?
I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6.
It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention.
I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car.
You have to pay attention.
It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on this fun Friday fun edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKIDA0. That's SIDKIDA0.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
We have less than 60 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
All right, Sid, let's switch gears here. Go to hardwood. Let's talk, game 3 of the NBA Finals. Of course, Denver got the best of Miami, 109-94. In Miami, you got game 4 coming up tonight, a pivotal game 4 coming up tonight for Miami. We'll get to that. We'll preview that in a second, but reviewing game 3 here, of course, Djokovic had 32 points, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists. He's actually the first player in finals history, which I found this, very shocking that this is the case. He's the first player to do that in NBA finals. So I'm a little surprised by that, but a little bit nutty. 34 points, 10 boards, and 10 assists for Jamal Murray as well. They actually are the first pair of teammates to do that too in NBA finals. So that's a little bit crazy there. But look, it was gosh, I haven't heard this name. Christian Braun from Kansas. I haven't heard this name since last year's national championship team.
What can Brown do for you?
He had 15 points off the bench. Look, no one really like I said, I haven't heard that name since I forgot he was in the league. So that just shows you how far off I am. As absurd this is. He was 7 for 8 from the field. But on the flip side for Miami, you had Butler did his thing with 28 points. Bam was also had another good game, 22, but he was only 7 for 21 from the field, so he could do a little bit more. But everyone else, Gabe Vincent, I know he was in foul trouble a lot. A couple of those fouls were not his fault. But that's a whole other conversation. Mm-hmm. Matt Strus only 1 for 7 from the field, and 1 for 4 from 3. That's not good. Duncan Robinson only scored 9 points. And Caleb Martin, he only had 10 points. He did what he could, but he could have done more too. Cody Zeller, he should not be seeing the court ever again. He can't guard Jokic. So let's not get. But other than that, Sid, what did you think about Game 3 on Wednesday?
Unlike in Game 2, the Denver Nuggets executed their offensive game plan to perfection. You mentioned Nikola Jokic's triple-double. He played well. Jamal Murray, unlike in Game 2, he stepped up his game consistently on offense. And Christian Brown, I should say, he had remember Matthew Dellavedova from Cleveland back in 2015?
Yes, I do.
Kyrie got injured. He helped LeBron out in that 2015 series in Golden State. Golden State ended up winning that title. In Game 3, Matthew Dellavedova had a game of his life, and so much so he had a guest interview spot on SportsCenter. Christian Brown, I should say, stepped into that role in Game 3. And sometimes when your stars are not getting it done, which they were for Denver, sometimes you need your supporting cast to help you out. Sometimes it's that unsung hero that comes out of nowhere and helps contribute with major minutes. That was Christian Brown in Game 3 the other night. So Denver got contributions from up and down their roster. Their biggest lead was 21, but I got the sense, Lakeena, that final score should be a little bit that final score is really fool's gold because Denver dominated. Really, they dominated the second half. You really want to dig deep into it, but it was a tight first half. But you could tell that Denver was in control all game long. I told you that Jimmy Butler was going to have a big game. He started to get hot in the first quarter, but as the game went on, he started to tire out a little bit. I don't know what the reason was. Maybe still have a lingering effects of the ankle injury from early in the playoffs. I don't know. I know he ended up with 28, but I thought he was going to have a big game. You just didn't see it. Of course, starting that third quarter, Miami started to sell for a lot of jump shots. They were terrible from 3, even though they shot 31% overall. But you tell their legs were tired. They started to take a lot of bad shots, especially starting that third quarter. And Denver just took advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Christian Braun, I think, look, I doubt he's not going to score 15 points, and tonight. I don't think that's going to happen. But also too, like, look, 28 points for Butler. That's actually he averages about 28 per game, so it's not like this he had an off game. Unfortunately, we've seen that we won a 35 to 40 point, and I think we're going to get that tonight. If you're Miami, you better try, tonight. You better try and win Game 4 because if you go back to Denver 3-1. You might as well just pack it in. I don't want to say that they don't have a shot, but it's not. You would rather tie the series at 2 than be down 3-1. And I'll just leave it at that. But I think for me, look, they were right there. Miami it was back and forth for that first quarter. Denver pulled away a little bit in the second quarter. Then it was after that. I mean, they only scored 20 points like what Miami did. It felt like they didn't score as much, but it felt like it a little bit, they were down even further. So they had to play catch up. And I think that's the problem. Look, you gotta set the tone early. Jimmy has to set the tone. And that offense too, they got to hit their shots. Gabe Vincent, I know it's going to be hard for him. Not going to foul trouble. Truss needs to hit his shots. Duncan Robinson needs to hit his shots. We'll see. There's still a tease, and maybe Tyler Hero might play tonight. We'll see, and he definitely gives them that offensive, jolt that they really need. And I think, look, Caleb Martin needs to step up too. I think, look, there's still a chance, for them to win this series. I think. I know people want to say, oh, it's over, Denver in 5, whatever. But look, I think they need to especially since they're going to be at home. I know that, look, Jokic is going to get his shots. Murray's going to get his shots. You got to slow down guys like Aaron Gordon. You got to, slow down guys like Caldwell Pope. And you got, and Michael Porter Jr., who hits some, he hasn't really been a factor, but, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, look, you got to, make sure the supporting cast doesn't get their shots either. And I think that's been the problem. Don't let a Christian Braun, take over a game and hit some big shots for you. You don't want that to happen if you're Miami. We'll see. Look, they got the day, and yet you have to wonder too. Will fatigue be a factor, especially since they're playing really hard? I know Jokic played like 44 minutes, and Murray played 45. Look, this is going to be like the 21st game for some of these guys. So you got to think fatigue is going to be setting in, and we'll see what happens. Look, Miami, yeah, the Nuggets are fresher, but look, you gotta. Look, it's still like a lot of things there, especially if you're shooting a lot. That could wear you out. So I'm wondering, could that play a factor too? So we'll see tonight.
Yeah, pay attention to these 3 key statistics from Game 3, and that's I believe one of the main reasons why the Denver Nuggets won Game 3. Listen to this first statistic: in rebounds, Denver 58, Miami 33. I'll repeat one more again, as you young folks would say: 58 to 33 in the rebounding department for Denver. Number 2, points in the paint. Denver 60, Miami 34. If that's not a discrepancy, I don't know what is. And also, too, where's my other statistic? Yeah, in assists, Denver was a +8, 28-20.
Yeah, I think the rebounding thing has really been a problem for them, especially on the the defensive rebounding side. They're just not. It just isn't there for them. Like, you can't afford to have, especially on the defense side, you had 45 to 20, 23 or something like that. They have rebounders. Like, you can't let them do it. Look, I know, you got to get Jokic away from the basket and not try to get those rebounds. The Bam has to be a little bit more aggressive. Cody Zeller is not the answer. He needs to not be playing. Look, let Kyle Lowry, try to hit some shots. I mean, he was a non-factor. I know he had 9 points, but like I said, he was pretty much a non-factor in that game. And look, he needs to be a little bit of a factor too, I think. Look, if you're Eric Spoelstra, you need to win this game. This is a must-win for Miami. You rather be tied at 2 than me up down 3-1 going back to Denver. You just don't want that.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. This is our Friday Fun Friday edition. I'm Sid and Lakeena. We're reviewing Denver Nuggets Game 3 win from the other night in the NBA Finals, 109-94. Let's get into the preview for tonight's game, which is Game 4. It'll also take place in South Beach. That's tonight at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on ABC. Lakeena, I think we did get some of the keys away for tonight's game. For me, for the Miami Heat, I agree with you. Just like in Game 2, and Kyle Lowry said it to Stephen A. Smith and Mike Greenberg in a post-game show crew, you can let Jokic get his, but if you let some of the other guys like Jamal Murray, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Aaron Gordon, and Michael Porter Jr. get off, it's going to be a long night for the Miami Heat. You don't want the supporting cast to get any confidence because right now they have it. On the flip side for Miami, the defensive rebound is what I'm looking at, and you got to have someone else besides Bam Adebayo get in there and do the dirty work and bang the boards. And also, number 2 for Miami, she mentioned whether Tyler Hero is activated for Game 4 tonight or not. You still need other guys to step up to hit their shots like Gabe Vincent, and I'm definitely looking at Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those guys definitely step. But like you said, the rebounding thing. I mean, look, I know Gabe Vincent. I know it's hard for him to do. Like, don't try and get into foul trouble. I think that's going to be the thing. And also, who else? A big guy. I mean, look, Kevin Love. I know that he's not the Kevin Love that we saw in Cleveland years ago, but he needs to kind of have the game of his life tonight. Look, you don't. Like I said, you want to try to look. I know it's going to be hard to, they're bigger or stronger, but you got to outshoot him. And I think that's been the thing that they have not done that. Look, 31.4% from the 3. That's not going to win it for you. And yeah, I know Denver wasn't great either. I mean, they're only 27.8%, but at least they made their shots when they needed to. And I think that's going to be kind of like the thing. And look, you hit your free throws too. I mean, look, you have to look 78.9. That's not going to do it for you. And the free throw for discrepancy, I think that's going to be a problem too. So you gotta get it going, set the tone early. Look, I know it's going to be hard to keep Denver at arm's length, but no pun intended. But look, you gotta do it. So, and I think, look, don't let guys like Christian Braun beat you. Don't let guys like Caldwell Pope or Michael Porter Jr. beat you. So there's gotta be an unsung hero tonight. Look, look, Caleb Martin might be an unsung hero again, but someone needs to do it for Miami to kind of help Jimmy and Bam out.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that point with the free throws discrepancy, Lakeena. Remember after Game 1, the Miami, we talked about this on a couple of the shows after Game 1, which was last week, by the way. The Miami Heat went to the free throw line only 2 times. We said that wasn't going to get it done if they wanted to seal a game in Denver. They tripled that statistic in Game 2. Game 3 the other night, they only went to the free throw line 19 times, in Denver went to the free throw line 27 times. Miami has to get aggressive outside of Jimmy Butler, driving that ball to the basket and getting to the free throw line. And as I said before, with that Game 3 loss the other night, Miami, especially in that second half, they settled for too many damn jump shots, especially from the three-point range when they weren't making them. They were not driving the ball inside. How do you get in the game, back in the game, trailing by a lot, Lakeena? You be aggressive defensively, which the Miami Heat are a great defensive team, but you also had to force the rest to blow their whistle, which means you don't settle for jump shots. You get into that free throw line, you get into the lane, draw fouls, get you in foul trouble, get Aaron going in foul trouble, and you go to the free throw line and hit your throws.
Yeah, I think they gotta be more aggressive from the field, especially if they want to get rid of that discrepancy. That's been the problem, unfortunately, for Miami, especially those especially in Game 1, especially in Game 3 as well. Look, Jokic, he flops. I get it, but look, it's just you just gotta be a little bit more aggressive. You gotta play their game. Try to be aggressive. Look. You got to do it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, like I said, you can check out Game 4, a pivotal Game 4 for Miami in the NBA Finals tonight on ABC. You can also stream it on ESPN Plus. So make sure you guys check that out. As you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown with you. Now, Sid, let's do that hockey real quick. All right, yeah, absolutely. The Panthers cut into that 2-1 lead against the Vegas Knights in the Stanley Cup Final. Keith could. Matt could, I should say. Keith was is his dad. But they got down to overtime goal, another overtime session. I think this is what I'll get to that stat in a second. But just a pivotal win, for the Panthers, a 3-2 OT win there. And look, it was just one of those crazy games. You thought that they were up 1, they were tied at 1 going to the first intermission. You thought that after Vegas to that 2-1 lead, you thought that maybe we're gonna go down 3-1 until it was Mr. Manika who tied that game with about a little over 2 minutes left in the game. Carter Verhey, with the assist there. And of course, it was Carter Verhey, Swaggy as they call him, who hit that game winner about 4.5 minutes into overtime. And Sid, I feel like this is something that we might have a series here, but we'll have to wait and see. There's been a lot of penalties, a lot of comebacks, and it's just been really a little bit of a crazy game. Of course, power plays, bad failed power plays by the Panthers, but they were able to get this win that they desperately needed.
Yes, the penalty minutes started to pile up again for the Florida Panthers, but they wasn't as bad as it was when they were in Vegas, especially in Game 2. And so you saw the discrepancy right there. But I thought they played a very disciplined game, using air quotes here, compared to Game 2 where things were going off the rails there. But Florida stuck with it. I thought Vegas was the better team throughout the most part of that game. If they would have won it last night, it would have been justice. And Vegas would have had a 3-0 series, so they now is cut down to 2-1. Mentioned for Gahey, that's his 4th overtime career playoff goal, and that's his 2nd of this year's playoffs. So he's one of those ones you should watch out for as he's been stepping up in big moments for the Panthers this year. Also, too, their starting goalie, Sergei Grabowski. Remember, Lakeena, you asked the question, should he have been benched? I said, no, these things happen. Let's see what he does in Game 3. And look what happened. He had the second start of the game with 25 saves last night.
Yeah, 25 saves, was good. Include some big ones there for Grabowski. I think he was starting to kind of show a little bit. I don't want to say that he was kind of like losing that steam a little bit that he had, especially from the other series, but he actually looked really good last night, I should say. He saved some. There were a couple of chances the Knights had to take that lead and perhaps maybe even win it in overtime. But Grabowski made those saves and still on his head. And look, I feel like this stuff. If you're TNT, you're happy about this because the last thing you wanted was to have a 3-0, a 3-0 advantage for the Knights, going into tomorrow night's Game 4. Now this is going to be a pivotal game for the Panthers, especially. Same thing with the Heat. You don't want to be down 3-1, going back to Vegas. So you got to do the same thing that you did in this game last night. I mean, I know a little bit of cool. I know Kachuk got Jack Eichel back for that hit, from the game too. But he was able. But he had to go off a little bit. But the Knights got him back, and he was able to come back. But he was able to come back and score that game tying goal. And look, I think if you're the Panthers, you want to try to set the tone, kind of like slow it down a little bit. I know the Knights are like one of those fast-paced teams. They want to kind of like get you going. But look, if you're the Panthers, you want to try to slow it down and perhaps maybe get that thing, get it sort of like get the puck, in the net. Try to get Aiden Hill on his toes. Kind of give up some some cheap goals, you're Grabowski. Look, you beat the Grabowski we saw early on, especially in this series, when the Panthers upset Boston. Try to kind of like stand on your head, try not to give up those gimme goals and such. So I think for me, that's going to be really going to be the thing that's going to go for me. That's going to be the key for me, going to tomorrow's Game 4.
Yeah, going into tomorrow night's Game 4, you mentioned with Florida, they have to keep up what they did last night. Yes, the penalty minutes piled up a little bit, but wasn't as much as it was back in Game 2. Still play discipline, create traffic for the Aiden Hill, Vegas in front of that net. Be the aggressor. Just stay within yourself. And let's not put that much pressure on Grabowski. Yes, he's going to make the incredible saves, but you had to sacrifice your body and block shots and don't give away the puck as much. As I mentioned, Las Vegas for most of that game they were in control last night. And I want to point out these statistics for you guys. And you mentioned the power play early, Lakeena. Florida was 0 for 5, while Vegas was 2 for 6. And with the giveaways, Florida had 24 giveaways to Vegas' 7. Florida has to take care of that puck. And with the total penalties, it was 8-7 for Florida. As I mentioned, not as much, but they played disciplined hockey compared to Game 2. In the block shots department, Vegas had 31. Florida had 17. So Florida's got to get down and dirty again, outwork Vegas to win Game 4.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the thing. Like you said, you try not to lose your cool if you're the Panthers. I mean, you don't want to. I know the Knights are very physical, especially up front, but you don't want to, lose your cool like you've been doing it because unfortunately the penalty minutes have been killers for both. I know Game 2 I think was the worst. I mean, it was 148 combined penalty minutes. And I think that's like the second most in a Stanley Cup Final, only trailing the Game 4 of the '86 final between Montreal and Calgary. There were 148 minutes in that. Oh Jesus, in that game. So I remember I saw a repeat of that game on YouTube. But yeah, that was pretty brutal. But yeah, I mean, look, you don't want to you're trying to kind of let the calm, even keel, the cooler heads prevailing and such. I mean, look, it's just you haven't been good in the power play anyway. So if you're the Panthers, you want to try to kind of like keep your cool and set the tone and try to get an early lead so that we can kind of get Vegas kind of play catch up, and that's kind of like the thing here.
Yeah. Las Vegas, as we told you guys, they could score goals in bunches with the rest of them in the National Hockey League, but they're a workhorse team as well, and they can slow it down and make you play their style. Florida, as we mentioned, they're not an up and down or race you from one end to the other end of the ice. You have to outwork them as well, but Vegas is a well-balanced team. I think their roster is just slightly better than Florida's overall. And even though I did pick Florida to win this series in 7, the main ways are because of Sergei Grabowski. But as you mentioned, Florida is going to have to lower the penalty minutes, lower the total of penalties, play discipline within their style, and not give up any rebounds, any multiple scoring chances to Vegas. Because if you do that against any team, especially against Vegas, you're going to pay the price for it.
Yeah, then they'll let you they'll make you pay. So yeah, I think we'll see what happens. Like I said, I mean, it's all gonna turn out who's can kind of get their style going, and perhaps maybe try not to get all those penalty minutes. So it's been a very physical series so far, and they was actually pretty tamed last night. So, but look, if you're the Panthers, you want to try to set that tone and perhaps maybe get the Knights on their toes and try to get them to play catch up, and not the other way around. So we'll see what happens with that. Of course, all the games are on TNT, so you can check out tomorrow night's Game 4, a pivotal Game 4, like I said, for the Panthers at 8:30, I should say, our time tomorrow night. So yeah, make sure you guys check that out on TNT at 7:00.
All right. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid and Lakeena hanging out with you. Coming up is our homegirl, Christine, the Queen Manika from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's going to join us for her bi-weekly commentary of sports, entertainment, and more. Lakeena, we have a few minutes left before we have to break for the bottom of the hour. The Blackhawks are making news off the ice in more ways than one. This week, they hired former player at one time in the late 80s, and he actually got his media career started here in Chicago. I'm talking about the Panger, Mr. Darren Payne, the former goalie. He's been doing St. Louis Blues telecast for the last 14 years, but with their situation with Bally Sports, he decided to leave the Blues TV booth. He's coming back home to Chicago, where it started for him for his sports media career. This is a great move. Him and Chris Vosters is going to sound great together on TV. I'm assuming that Troy Murray is going to move back to the radio booth with John Weideman. I don't know what will Patrick Sharp's role be going forward. Will it still be a 3-man booth, which I doubt, but will Sharp go to the TV booth? Will he pursue other opportunities? But for Darren Payne to be back in the broadcast booth for the Blackhawks, great move by this organization.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff Akras, who was one of the first to break the news of the Chicago Sun-Times. Of course, great Chicago media guy. Like I said, he's kind of like the new Robert Frieder, I guess. I know he hates it when people call him that, but he kind of is becoming that. But yeah, he was the first one to break this news, and of course, yeah, he left. Of course, I'm talking about Panger left Bally Sports St. Louis. Unfortunately, like you said, they've been having issues. So that might have been the reason why they gave him a chance to bowl. I know he still travels back and forth. I know he and his family, they still live here. I think a couple of his daughters still live here in Chicago. They went to school here in the area. So, that was a nice pickup for them. I think he and Chris are we gotta try to get him on. I know he's been super busy.
Yeah, real quick, look here. Did you see his tweet yesterday?
Yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was hilarious. I know he and Panger were FaceTiming each other, so I know that they've been connected very well whenever the Hawks play the Blues this season multiple times. So I know they already have a nice rapport. Look, I've been Panger's one of my favorite Blackhawks growing up. Of course, in the late 80s, of course, he's in goalie. Only 5'5", but he was such a great goalie. I think he does get as much credit he deserves. Of course, did some work here, for the Blackhawks for the first couple of years, and of course, ESPN did a lot of national stuff too. Of course, he's been doing Blues analyst work, game analyst work for the last 14 years. And look, I think he said himself. He said he wanted to come back to Chicago. That the Blackhawks, great things are coming up too. Of course, with the pending drafting of Connor Bedard. And look, I feel like this is a great hire. Like I think Sharpie is gonna go be doing some stuff for TNT. I think he might be doing some other national stuff too. I know ESPN probably might be interested in him as well. We'll get to why and after the break. But
yeah,
I think this is gonna be a great hire, a great get by the Hawks, and the kind of start of a guy who's very well loved still here in Chicago. It's gonna be a little weird because the Chris is like 6'4" or something like that. We know Pangers are like 5'5", so it's gonna be. We might see Panger on a box. Well, I know I'm letting out a secret there, but I think they're going to sound great together. I know this is going to be a nice little transition there. I think that the fact that they did do a 3-man, but I think that might have threw a lot of it off a little bit. They didn't have Sharpie doing some national stuff, and of course Troy still doing WGN radio, their Hawks coverage. So yeah, I think it wasn't consistent enough. So I think having a consistent guy, I think that'll only help both Pranger and Chris.
Holy jumping. I can't wait for him to say that 1,000 times during the broadcast. But as you mentioned, Darren Payne is coming in at the right time with the pending drafting of Connor Bedard. The Hawks organization cannot say that, but we'll say it for you as they have less than a month left before the NHL draft in Nashville. But he brings professionalism. He brings personality to the booth. I think it's only going to help out Chris Vosters. Chris Vosters did a heck of a job this year. Like you said, given the circumstances with Sharp and Troy Murray. Now it fills out the roles with Troy Murray, hopefully going back to WGN Radio. And it'll help out the coverage of NBC Sports Chicago as well. We all know that the Blackhawks are going to stink for next year, but as the talent hopefully improves with this team for the next couple of years, we know the broadcast is going to be A+.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think Voster's Panger. I think that might be a new nickname here. So we'll see what happens with that. So we're going to take a really quick break. Our girl Christy Mack over KXRB is on deck. Of course, we got some NFL news. A couple of veteran guys have said adios to their respective teams, and also of course all the other sports media news, including a firing of a longtime ESPN guy. I got a vote to pick on that one. and so much more coming up too. So with our girl Christine, and of course PJ and Liv, joining forces. So we'll give our thoughts on that. A lot to do still. Coming up next, our girl Christine, Manika for KXRB, Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. We're wrapping things up. Coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to our last segment of the day, last segment of the week, as you're listening to Second City Sports on this fun Friday fun edition. Real live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakeena. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80, SIDKID80.
You follow my Kingdom again on the Twitter and I can't underscore on the IG.
We have less than a half hour left or so in this fabulous program. If you want to send us your questions or comments, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you.
All right. You know her, you love her, we love her too. She is our girl from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She is the one, the only, the queen herself, Miss Christine Manika. Hey, Christine.
Yay!
How are ya?
We're doing well. Trying to keep the air quality down a little bit. So what's going on? I know you guys are all good in South Dakota, right? With the air quality and all with the wildfires and such.
Yeah, you know, like a couple of weeks ago, almost a month ago, we actually had those wildfire smoke come into Sioux Falls. So it was a little toasty here for the first few couple of days, but then thankfully it lifted. But yeah, that's crazy in New York right now. It did not get that dark for South Dakota, I will say that.
Okay, good. That's great to hear. All right,
Yeah.
so I know you go first, Sid.
Before we get started, Christine, I meant to mention this on the last couple of shows that we had you on, but Lakeena, let's clap it up for Christine's sister.
Yeah.
She finally got her dream job. For those of you that don't know, Christine, tell the people what that job is.
Yeah, so Katie is now officially Dr. Katie Manika.
Yay!
So if anybody listening has pets, dogs, whatever you got, exotic animals, lizards, snakes, you can find her at the clinic at Naperville, Springbrook Vet Care Clinic in Naperville.
Nice. Doing great things, help out animals.
Yeah.
We love seeing that. So yeah, congrats to Miss Kate. Oh, Dr. Katie, as I'm sure.
Yes.
Dr. Katie, she looked like a little chef. I made fun of her with like her little hat on, and I said, it looks like you're about to make a couple of pastries or something.
Right. She probably could do that too. Why not? Yeah, she can do that on the side.
Probably.
Of course.
I feel bad that she's not here. She was literally here visiting me for a whole week, and she just left yesterday. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah, tell her we said congratulations.
Congrats. Yeah, to really deserve it. So, what do you think about your White Sox, Christine? I mean, they're back in it, right? I mean, they're 3.5 back. So, what do you think? Are you like me? You want to wait and see, or do you think are the White Sox really back?
I think I want to credit this energy to Liam Hendricks, just because it's amazing. I was talking about this about a week ago. We all knew that he was battling cancer, right? But we didn't know the extent as to what he was actually going through. And then to have it come out that it was diagnosed as stage 4, that's incredible in itself, you know? So the fact that he's on the mound and he has that energy, he's fired up, he's ready to go, I think that just motivates the team even more. Look at Kopech. He was in a slump for, I think, the first 2 months of the season. And now then all of a sudden, I don't know what, maybe it was his own motivation or something, but I think Liam Hendricks does something positive for the team.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Christine, about the White Sox pitching staff. I know Dylan Cease hasn't had the season that we all wanted, but it looks like he's starting to pitch well. Lucas Giolito pitched his tail off the other night in New York City. He's the only Sox pitcher to have back-to-back outings with a no-hit ball. Lance Lynn, I'm about done with him. The White Sox offense bailed him out yesterday. But you mentioned Michael Kopech. I was there last Sunday afternoon. Outside that home run he gave up in the Tigers game, he pitched his tail off. He's going to pitch again tomorrow. So what do you think about this White Sox pitching staff right now? Do you still have confidence in them as a group?
I do, but I think, like we said a couple of weeks ago, I think Giolito is still on the chopping block when it comes to the trade deadline and to see kind of where the team is at next month. So I think since he's playing well, I think he's A, either fighting for a spot, or B, fighting to be on another team's spot, and he's just showcasing everything that he's got going on. So that's kind of the interesting timeline too, but I hope they stay together. I hope they find a way to keep him. If not, I mean, you gotta let someone go, and I think that would be the guy to let go.
Yeah, I feel bad for Giolito, especially in that game, because
Right.
he could have gotten a no hitter. I know he was over 100 pitches by then. I know Pedro Grifol wanted to kind of save his arm, but how many chances are gonna get to have a chance to throw a no hitter against the Yankees? I mean, come on now, that'd be a nice little notch on your resume. But
right.
Anyway, look, Eloy's hurt again. Jesus, is always like two weeks, Christy. Like we said, 2 weeks like clockwork. He of course he hurts himself. Pulled up at that second game. So what do you think? Do you think can he stay injury free? I'm kind of like, I love Eloy, but that he's starting to freak me out a little bit with all the injuries.
Well, I guess since he is injured, you got to think about what's best for the team. And come next season, if he's just too much of an injury prone guy, then that means it's time to move on, I think. So you got to give it a little bit of a chance here, but until his situation kind of plays out, we just got to root for him and see what can happen from there.
Now, before we move on to other sports, Christine, Jake Berger, are you logging on to MLB.com and voting him for the All-Star game? He hit his first home run against the Yankees yesterday in Yankee Stadium, as I tweeted out yesterday. I said this to Lakeena early in the show. I'll say this to you. Except for catcher and perhaps shortstop and second base, even especially now with the injuries to Eloy Jimenez, how long will Jimenez be out? We'll find out soon. But you got to keep Jake Berger's bat in the lineup every day. And I think that home run yesterday was only the second home run he's hit outside of Sox Park so far this year. You got to find a way to keep Jake Berger in the lineup every day, correct? It's a no-brainer, you would think.
Oh, yeah. I'm hungry for more. Seriously. Serve me a Whataburger.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay. I see. I know you told us that Chris is in California. But we do want to talk about the PGA and the LIV merger, because of course this news came out of nowhere on early Tuesday morning, and then we get a joint statement from, well, not really a joint statement, but a statement from Jay Monahan, who's the commissioner for the PGA, saying that they're merging, and kind of catching a lot of folks off guard. I think, Rory, I know he wasn't very happy. I saw a lot of, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa. I mean, a lot, major winners, a lot of those guys were not very happy with what happened. Apparently, Greg Norman, a major winner himself, who's been, who started this LIV Golf tour events, he wasn't very happy either. So what do you think, Christine? I mean, it's a little bit nutty here, about this whole merger. But so what do you think?
There's a lot of layers in this onion, right? It's just not everything that we're seeing on the surface. I highly recommend, if anybody hasn't done it, I highly recommend listening to the entirety of Rory McIlroy's interview on Wednesday. For anyone that doesn't know, he is actually on the board for the PGA as one of the player representatives. Mm-hmm. So out of any guy that's on the tour right now, he knows more than the average player on the golf course. So I think the way that he explained it was perfectly said. He held his composure and just kind of explaining what this is going to look like, and how the PGA is going to move forward. I like what he said when he said, this is not a PGA and LIV merger. This is a World Golf PIF PGA merger. The goal, from my understanding of it, is to phase out LIV, and I think this is what the goal was all along for the organizers that back LIV, for the Saudis. And now that this merge is coming together, it fits both parties both ways. The PGA gets more money out of it, and it gets the lawsuit dropped against LIV, and vice versa for LIV. They're going to make more money out of it, and the lawsuit with the PGA for them goes away. So the way that it seems is it's a win-win situation for both parties involved. Is everyone agreeing with that? No, but like I said, I highly recommend watching Rory's interview just to get a better idea and perspective of what this is. Because again, it's a PGA World Golf PIF merger, not a PGA Live merger going on here.
I was just going to ask you, what does this do to the future of the PGA and for the game of golf in general? Because as you well know, Christine, I'm a casual fan, i.e. Tiger Woods. Will we start to see any more young golfers coming up with that personality, at least being in the realm of Tiger Woods, a star that can cross over to get casual viewers like yours truly to watch the game of golf? Will this be the effect of that, hopefully down the road for the game of golf?
I think now that, the golfers from Live will be coming back into the picture, I think it's going to help, because there was a huge rift, and that's what everybody kept on talking about. And quite frankly, I think it was a headache for the golfers just by the way that they answer the questions. And some of them kept their composure really well. And some of them are just like, I want to play golf. Like, I just want to play golf without the politics, without extra cooks in the kitchen, if that makes sense. And it's so funny how people bring up like, oh my gosh, this is going to change the field, the game of golf. Well, think about it when the Live wasn't a thing, when the Live Tour wasn't a thing. It's the same competitive edge. It's the same men on the field. It's the same way as how it was before Live came. So anyone that says, oh, this competition is going to be tough, the competition never left. It was always there, but now it's going back to what it was before the Live Tour. Now, they did say the PGA and the Live officials agreed that at the end of the Live season, each player is going to be evaluated. And I'm assuming based on those evaluations, those will be the players that will be invited to join the PGA again. Top of my head, I'm pretty sure Cam Smith and Dustin Johnson are going to make that list of PGA players, players that they want to come back to the PGA. My only curiosity out of this whole thing is how the scheduling is going to work out.
Yes.
You heard, again, Dustin Johnson, if you watch the Netflix Full Swing documentary, you heard his excuse about wanting to spend more time with family. And this organization allowed that family time. Well, all right, now that you're potentially going to come back, what does that mean for scheduling? Does that mean the PGA rules are different? Can you miss more than one tournament instead of missing just one tournament? What's the travel schedule going to be like? Is it still going to be all based in North America, or are they going to start traveling to Europe to play some events, possibly even somewhere in Saudi Arabia? I heard that being thrown around a little bit, that's a possibility. But until this all plays out, we just don't know. We can only just assume what's going to happen and what we think will be the end goal here. I feel bad for the guys playing the Canadian Open right now, and I feel bad for them going into next week for the U.S. Open, just because it's going to turn into a media circus now, and all they want to do is win the U.S. Open and just play some good golf. That's it. That's all these guys want to do. So it puts them in a very vulnerable position, as if they weren't vulnerable already. So not only do you get this news of, oh my gosh, we're merging with the PIF and World Golf, but now we don't know how the standings are going to work out, how the payouts are going to be. Nothing like that. So if anything, I would feel really bad for the golfers in this situation, because like Rory said, they are the sacrificial lambs here.
Yeah, unfortunately, money talks and BS walks in the end. So, and like you said, with Brooks Koepka, one of the reasons why he switched over to Live was because of the scheduling and such. So, and he and his wife, they're expecting a child. So, that's
I was going to say, too, with Brooks Koepka, I don't think it was necessarily the scheduling. I think if you watch the documentary and you could see, like, the body language, facial expressions and whatnot, I think he gave up on himself just because he had a lot of injuries. He had a lot of setbacks. And that's the same thing for Ian Poulter, too. they just fully gave up on themselves. So I feel bad that they ultimately had to make a decision that they probably didn't even want to make. So if anything, I think now that Brooks is healthy, I think it's going to be great for the PGA next year because he's playing like crazy. He's a stud. That's all I can say. He's playing really well.
Definitely a favorite for the U.S. Open, next weekend. Sorry, so go ahead.
We're hanging out with our homegirl, Christine the Queen Manika from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, right here on Second City Sports, the Fun Friday Fun edition, right here on Sports on Chicago. Sid and Lakeena hanging out here with you. Christine, let's go to football. Dalvin Cook, soon to be former running back of the Minnesota Vikings, and he's going to be released sometime this weekend.
He is.
We heard
he is. I'll say it's
he
official.
just got released. Okay,
it's official. Yep. He is.
So he's technically now a free agent. A couple of teams have been rumored for his services: the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins. You said to us via our chat yesterday, which team should be acquiring? Another team should be acquiring his services. Their team would be
Chicago.
Tell us why, young lady.
Look, the Bears have had such a good history with running backs, and if they still have the cap space to do it, might as well do it. I mean, what's stopping you at this point? If there's still money in the bank, I would use it on a guy like Dalvin Cook. I know some people say, oh, he's 28 years old. That's pretty old for a running back. The dude broke so many records last season, and even though he's 28 years old, he could still damn well run that football and get touchdowns for whatever team that he's on. So I think it's a huge loss for the Vikings and Vikings fans that they had to release him and there wasn't really an agreement in place. But if the Bears were smart, I would consider watching. I would consider getting him on the team, especially now that I think the city and the Bears organization have come to a mutual agreement about staying in Chicago after the meeting with the new mayor, I think Brandon Johnson, and then Kevin Warren. So yeah, I think that's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel for that situation.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Now, I can understand why Miami, because he's from that area. He went to Florida State.
Right.
I know a lot of his family, still lives down there. So I'm thinking that he probably wants to be close to family. But, the Bills are a little bit closer to winning a championship. And I know Sid hates it that Josh Allen, we'll get to Josh Allen now being the new Madden cover guy in a second. But I know he hates that he usually is the one that leads the Bills in rushing for most of the game. So having someone like Dalvin Cook to kind of, get the load off, I think that can only help. But look, I know Baltimore, I know heard his, that team being for a couple other teams out west as well. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I'm interested because he'll now have his choice of which team he wants to go to. So I'm fascinated to see where he goes.
Just keep him out of Kansas City. That's all I
got. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, some people already said that. Yeah. Anywhere
if
but
you're
Kansas
Buffalo
City.
Baltimore, if you Buffalo Baltimore, if you sign him there, they'll definitely keep him away from Kansas City. But I can see Christine's point of Dalvin Cook signing with the Bears. One, I'm sure he won't say it out loud, but if Dalvin Cook signed with Chicago, he can play the Vikings twice a year. The Vikings won't like that. But Khalil Herbert, he's a nice running back for the Bears, but he's just starting running back as of right now. Let's just say Dalvin Cook did sign with the Bears. That'll definitely help with the load because Dalvin Cook's been banged up for the last couple of years. But like you said, Christine, when he's healthy, he's a dynamic running back. And so he will look good on the Bears depth chart right now. But
I think so too.
But I think he wants to go to a contender where they're, like Lakeena said, that they're ready to win now, especially with Lamar Jackson back now for Baltimore. They're a viable option. Buffalo, they need him. So Buffalo makes sense. Let's see if they can work it out as far as their salary cap is concerned. Yes, the Bears do have salary cap space, but they're trying to save that for Justin Fields in the next couple of years, especially if he performs this upcoming year. He's going to talk contract extension, and rightfully so. So, but we'll see what happens with that. But Dalvin Cook has a number of options. Like you said, Lakeena, Miami, he went to Florida State. But the question I have for the Dolphins is, will Tua Tagovailoa stay healthy? Because one more good concussion, I don't want to count him out, but he's had a history of that. We saw that last year.
Yeah.
And if you Dalvin Cook, do you really want to take that risk of going down there and all the offensive load is going to be on your shoulders if Valoga will be out for any extended period of time next season.
That'll be, like I said, that'll be interesting. But I think, like you said, Chris, I think the Bears might be a good, good fit. I mean, if you're if you're Ryan Poles, I mean, why not kick the tires on him at least, just to kind of like listen and see what his numbers are. But like we said, the Bills, the Ravens, I think I saw somewhere, I think Denver. We'll get to Denver in a second because they got one of those KC guys in a minute. Like I've heard a couple other, the Chargers. I saw the Chargers. Their names being floated around as well. So yeah, I think, look, if you're Dalvin Cook, you're kind of sitting pretty right now. You got released, so we can kind of see where you want to go. So it should be interesting to see where he goes.
Yep, it will be fun. All right, Lakeena, like you mentioned, the Denver Broncos, they have new head coach Sean Payton. Russell Wilson hopefully won't be acting a fool this year as the Broncos trying to get back to the playoffs. They did sign one former Super Bowl champion from that Chiefs team a couple years ago, and his name is
Mr. Frank Clark.
Yay!
Four-time Pro Bowler. Definitely beefing up that front seven for the Broncos. They really need that. Sean Payton were able to steal the Clark from the Chiefs. So what do you guys think about that signing yesterday?
It shows that Sean Payton's serious and he wants to bring a win for the team. If he sees the talent and if they're confident in his evaluations as an organization, they want to go all the way.
Yeah, Denver's defense struggled last year. That's a young defense. Remember, they traded Bradley Chubb to, I believe, the Dolphins last year to trade deadline. So we all know about Russell Wilson's struggles from the offensive end last year, but their defense was really the one that was the backbreaker, especially after all those moves, injuries around the trade deadline last year. So this will help out that Denver defense, but it's all about Russell Wilson. Can he stay healthy? He has a lot of miles on those tires, and I think Sean Payton's going to use whatever he has left to get the best out of Russell Wilson. Just hopefully that Russell Wilson can keep his wife off of social media. That's one thing. And number two, can get some more weapons around them, because I think Denver will be improved next season. But they're in a tough division with the Raiders, the Chargers, and of course the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending champs.
Oh yeah, that team. Yeah. Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah, I forgot about the Chiefs, but yeah. Yeah, this is a big, nice signing, and going to your AFC West rival. And I'm sure Chiefs fans were not happy that Clark signed with the Broncos, but yeah, like you said, so I think beefing up that front seven, and Sean Payton he wants to win. I don't know if he would have taken the job with the Broncos and got out of the TV booth if he didn't want to win. So we'll see. They made a lot of interesting moves, so we'll see how it goes.
Yep, Christine, let's switch over to the NBA Finals. Of course, the Denver Nuggets have a 2-1 series lead. They won Game 3 the other night. Tonight is Game 4. What has been your assessment about these NBA Finals so far? And do you still believe that Jimmy Butler and crew for the Heat still have a chance to win this series?
Well, if the Panthers got their first Finals win ever in the organization's history, then anything can happen, right? There's something in that Florida water, man. I don't know what's going on down there, but I think Jokic is so tough. Doing a 30, 20, and 10, the first one to do that ever, that's just crazy. And you gotta give your respect to Jokic, and then you also gotta give your respect to Jimmy Butler too. He really brought the team back and has been continuing to lead them forward, not just towards the end of the regular season, but during the whole postseason too. I don't think that they were supposed to be in the finals. I don't think anybody thought that they were going to be in the finals, but then all of a sudden they have surprised everyone, and I guess that's why they call it the postseason.
Yeah, crazy things happen there. Going back to NFL for a second, guys. Apparently, of course, DeAndre Hopkins, happy birthday, he just turned 31, has visited both the Titans. He had a visit with the Patriots. Where do you guys think? We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Where do you think he's going to go? I know there's been the Ravens, the Chiefs, dare I say, the 49ers, I think that the Chargers to a couple other teams. So yeah, what do you guys think?
I'll start with Christine. Keep them away from Kansas City. I think that's going to happen because of their salary cap situation. But why are you going to the Titans? Ryan Tannehill's not the answer. I thought he was out the league 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But anyway, the Patriots I can understand, but Bill Belichick, if you believe the reports, he's not happy with Mac Jones. So maybe he has some other move up his sleeve if he decides to pick up Hopkins. I'm not sure. He's always doing something sneaky, but we'll see what happens with that. But you would think that Buffalo should be knocking on his door. Baltimore, maybe Miami with an outside shot. I don't know. But we'll see how much money that DeAndre Hopkins will command in the open market.
I would think that he would fit well with the Bills or even with the Patriots. So I'm just going to say both of them, just because one, I haven't heard much about the Patriots this offseason, so I think throwing their name out there is a good idea. And then number two, I think the Bills. Look, I really thought that they were going to go all the way last year. I really did. So maybe now is the time. That darn Buffalo's curse. I don't understand it.
Well, I don't think anybody does now. Speaking of, Hard Knocks, of course, they're, kind of, looking for who that team is going to be now. Robert Saleh.
It should be the Bears.
Well, Robert Saleh, who's a coach for the Jets, said that he knows of a lot of teams that would love for Hard Knocks to be in their building, but they're just not one of them. So for anybody who was hoping for the Jets to be part of Hard Knocks this year, of course, with Aaron Rodgers and the other moves they made, well, at least according to Coach Saleh, that's not happening. And I don't think you're gonna see with the Bears either. Sorry, Sid. I know you really want the Bears, but they're not gonna want to do that. So what do you guys think?
They're gonna do what if they did like the Dolphins or the Jaguars? Let's just throw them in the mix and see what happens. Sid's looking at me going, "Oh God, I hope."
No. I have a thought. After your comment. Go on.
No. I did. You go for it.
No, you actually brought up a good point with Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is going to his third year, I believe, next year. They made the playoffs last year. They made history with their playoff win over the Chargers, the second largest comeback win in NFL playoff history.
Right.
Jacksonville's not bad, but I do say the Bears because you're finally starting to get new ground on the new stadium. They have a favorable schedule for next year. Justin Fields, people love him. And then the league really wants them to do well. So that's why I say the Bears.
Well, I mean, like I said, I don't see it happening. I don't think the Bears brass not going to want to have the Hard Knocks anywhere near them. So I don't think that's going to.
They're too dysfunctional right now. I think.
Right.
They're too all over the place.
Right. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. But like I said, the Jets. Sorry to disappoint all the Jets fans listening or watching this, but yeah, unfortunately, that's not going to happen there now.
Robert Saleh doesn't want to see Aaron Rodgers do the Taylor Swift dance.
Apparently not. Apparently not. So we'll just to see what happens with that. Now, some sports media news, real quick. ESPN, the cutting continues. Of course, Chris Chelios, of course, a former Blackhawk, won 3 Stanley Cups with the Red Wings, has been let go. His contract will not be renewed after this NHL season. Now, Neil Everett, who's been, I think, about 23 years he's been there. He's been, let go. His contract will not be renewed either. Unfortunately, we're probably gonna be hearing other names from ESPN that might be getting the boot with the on-air talent being let go. I love Neil Everett. I think him and Stan Verrett, especially when they moved them to Los Angeles. That's one of my favorite sports centers. I always actually record that sports center because I love those two. They have a great rapport there, and so that's gonna be tough. But I think there's gonna be more names, familiar names that are gonna be cut from ESPN. What do you guys think?
I guess it just depends on what they're thinking, what kind of their plan is for the future of ESPN. I've unfortunately have known a couple of ESPN former employees that had to get cut, that got let go. So let's hope that kind of slows down a little bit for them.
Yeah, I'm with you, Lakeena. That was a very good sports center. The LA edition of Sports Center. I know Linda Coleman has been a part of that as well, and Ashley Brewer.
Ashley Brewer, yeah.
Yeah, so Neil Everett was starting to do some work with the Portland Trail Blazers.
I heard
this
about
year
that,
he'll
yeah,
probably
last
do
couple
that
years.
now, and then I heard that he's had some side projects on the horizon as well. So I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll be okay. Any other sports media news, Sid?
Oh, Bally Sports. Of course, we all know that the San Diego Padres, they missed a payment a couple weeks ago. Actually, Bally Sports missed a payment a couple weeks ago, paying the San Diego Padres. Right, and now their games are being broadcasted by and produced by Major League Baseball. But after last week, we talked about looking at the last week, a judge ordered the teams that are still airing their games on Bally Sports that the Bally Sports Network still has to pay the teams that had their games aired on that network. But now it looks like Bally Sports wants to be spiteful and miss some payments to these 4 teams: the Anaheim Angels, the Minnesota Twins, the Cleveland Guardians, and the Texas Rangers. They're starting to behave very badly in talking about Bally Sports, and I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm with Christine. I think, look, unfortunately, the landscape has changed so much. We were seeing, games being streamed, exclusively and such. I know that. Come on, Bally, come on, Diamond Sports. I mean, let don't be cheap. Like pay these teams and such. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, look, the regional sports future is definitely in question. What we were saying the last month.
Yeah, the way we view our sports and the way we consume it is changing. Like I think that old model of the regional sports network may be coming to an end. And so the future of sports television is here. We talk about the NBA, their national TV rights is up in a couple of years. So we'll see what happens in where the regional sports network model is definitely going to be different. How different will it be once those rights are up in a couple of years? We'll see.
Yeah. Absolutely. Want to give a quick shout out real quick to the Oklahoma women's softball team. Of course, they won their 3rd straight national championship, their 7th national championship, their 6th in the last decade. There was 61-1 overall, which is a D1 record. They've won 53 straight, which is also a D1 record. They've scored 500 runs for the 3rd straight year. That's a D1 record. The second team to win 3 straight national titles, joining UCLA, who did it in 1988 and through 1990. Patty Gasso, who has done a great job, I think she's been 27 years with that program. She's been, and actually now have a new series going to be coming up, next year. So it's only going to get better for Oklahoma. So I want to give the OU girls their props.
Christine.
Yeah, no, congratulations.
All right. So anything else before we disperse?
I wanted to ask Christine, since we brought up Aaron Rodgers and Taylor Swift. Tonight is actually country music night as the White Sox host the Miami Marlins for the first game of that 3-game series on the South Side. I know, Christine, unfortunately, you can't be here for that game tonight. But are you a Taylor Swift fan? And if so, what are some of your favorite songs from her? I know she took over Chicago last weekend. There was a whole lot of people spreading out downtown. If you weren't at the Sox game, you were in Soldier Field jamming out to Taylor Swift. Are you a fan of Taylor Swift or not?
First of all, I think she's more pop now than country.
Right.
Yeah.
So I kind of think she left her country era, so to speak, for any Taylor Swifties out there that know what I'm talking about. I don't mind her. I like her music. I love this song Wildest Dreams. That's one of my favorite from hers. I don't mind her music. I wouldn't drop $600 to go see her in concert.
Thank you.
But I don't mind listening to her. Yeah. Now, if we're talking about Jonas Brothers, yes, I will drop $600 for them. but not for, or U2, but not for Taylor Swift. No.
Oh yeah, U2. Yeah, I'll give you U2. Yeah, I'll say U2. I'll definitely shout out $600 for Then, like I said, I'm like you said, Christy. I think she's definitely more pop and country. I know she's won like 3 or 4 albums of the year in the Grammys, all types of awards and such. But yeah, I mean, look, it's fine. I mean, look, I'm not shelling out $600 for her. I know everything kind of went pretty well. I know she actually ingested a bug, not literally, not figuratively, but yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, look,
yeah, I know a lot of people that went to the show last week, and I saw videos, and it all looked great. Maren Morris, she's a country singer. She came up on stage with Taylor to sing one of their songs together, which is a really cool moment. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So so look, if you guys check that out if you're in New York, hopefully the air's a little bit better so that folks can go to that concert. Everything's all good there. So enjoy the concert, everybody, and that's it. Close us out.
All right, you can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Lakeena, where can people follow you on social media?
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
Christine?
They can follow me on Twitter at @CManika_KXRB.
All right, you can check us out anytime you want on War Media Podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Also, you can catch us Second City Sports every Monday, every Friday, right here on Sports Zone Chicago, both on Facebook and on YouTube. Noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right here on Sports Zone Chicago on our Facebook and YouTube page.
Yes, and also too, don't forget that you can catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
All right, so enjoy all the sports. You got the Stanley Cup Final, NBA Finals, and of course you got the baseball. Also, you got the French Open 2 coming up this weekend. So make sure you guys check that out. Of course, the golf, as Christine said earlier, they're in Canada right now. The PGA. A lot of great sports. I think they got the World Course coming for NASCAR in a couple of weeks, so that should be a lot of fun. And of course,
they're gonna tear up downtown Chicago and Lakeshore Drive.
I'm hoping Mayor Johnson has that figured out. So stay safe, everybody. Of course, in the air quality. So if you can't stay inside, if you can, go for it. For Sid and Christine, I'm Lakeena. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week.
Go Sox! Holla!